In pro wrestling, you can always count on head-spinning talking points and developments at every turn. Decisions large and small and occurrences of varying magnitudes will be deconstructed and hyper-analyzed by armchair bookers and die-hard fans the world over. And no surprise, 2023 was another year keen to provide heavy and hearty doses of such fodder. Stadium supercards, executive maneuvering, promotional jumps, backstage hostility, you name it, and a highly eventful 2023 can size up to any year before it. We said hello to new stars, good to see you to old familiars, and farewell to a staggering amount of ex-champions. No matter which way, it seemed like pro wrestling in 2023 was never short on newsworthy days. This is Timeline 2023. Join us! January 1st, WWE star Shinsuke Nakamura makes a one-night appearance for Pro Wrestling Noah to wrestle the Great Muta as part of Keiji Muto's farewell run in the sport. The match draws 9,500 fans to Tokyo's Budokan Hall. In a very creative finish, Nakamura counters Muta's mist by sucking the mist out of Muta's mouth and blowing it back at him, before finishing with the Kinshasa. After the match, Nakamura pays tribute to his idol, and the two leave together. January 4th. The first night of New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 17 draws over 26,000 fans to the Tokyo Dome and is held in honor of New Japan founder Antonio Inoki, who passed away the previous October. In the main event, Kazuchika Okada defeats Jay White in 33 minutes to win the IWGP World Heavyweight title. In the undercard, Kenny Omega defeats Will Ospreay in a critically acclaimed match to capture the IWGP United States Championship. In addition, Mercedes Moné makes her first appearance for New Japan, issuing a challenge to IWGP Women's Champion Kairi moments after Kairi's successful defense against Tam Nakano. On the same date, AEW debuts a brand new aesthetic for Dynamite, replacing the dual entrance tunnels and video screens with a central entranceway and larger video boards. The show also takes on a new red, white, and blue color scheme. January 6th, Vince McMahon returns to WWE as chairman, less than 6 months after retiring following allegations of sexual misconduct and revelations of secret hush payments. McMahon's reinstallation as chairman comes after he uses his voting shares to reconfigure the board of directors, assuring himself an inroad back. With McMahon's return, he'll be involved with the rumored sale of WWE, as well as renegotiations of WWE's media rights, which lapse in late 2024. January 8th, Speedball Mike Bailey wins the 2023 PWG Battle of Los Angeles. In one night, Bailey defeats Jordan Grace, Shun Skywalker, Brian Keith, and Konosuke Takeshita in a combined 77 minutes of action to win the tournament. January 10th. Stephanie McMahon steps down as co-CEO of WWE, days after Father Vince is reinstalled as chairman. The younger McMahon had assumed the co-CEO position in the wake of her father's sudden 2022 retirement. On the same date, Jesus Lopez, best known for his sustained run as Black Warrior in CMLL in the 90s and 2000s, passes away days after his 54th birthday. With CMLL, the charismatic Warrior won the NWA World Light Heavyweight title twice and the CMLL World Trios titles on 3 occasions. Lopez came from an extensive wrestling family that included, among others, Uncle Blue Panther and father-in-law Mano Negra. January 11th. More than 6 months after sustaining a concussion at AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door, Adam Cole makes his televised return at the Forum in Inglewood, California. As he's still recovering, Cole's first match back won't take place until late March, which will be a victory over Daniel Garcia. The same night, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks regain the AEW World Trios titles from Death Triangle, defeating the champions in Escalera de la Muerte, the final bout of a best-of-7 series. Omega and the Bucks had previously vacated the titles via suspension following the notorious Brawl Out incident with CM Punk and Ace Steel the prior September. January 13th. Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill takes place before 550 fans at Atlanta's Center Stage Theater. In the main event, Mickie James defeats Jordan Grace in a title versus career match to win the Knockouts title. Earlier in the card, Josh Alexander retains his world title over Bully Ray in a Full Metal Mayhem bout. The event also features the return of Frankie Kazarian, as well as the debut of Santino Marella, who's made an authority figure. January 14th. Ginny announces her retirement after an 8-year career. A former 2-time Progress Women's Champion and 1-time Rev Pro British Women's Champion, Ginny had been inactive since November 2021, when she wrestled for the now defunct NXT UK brand. Ginny will marry reigning WWE Intercontinental Champion Gunther later in the year. January 17th. Jay Briscoe, a foundational star for Ring of Honor during most of the promotion's lifetime, passes away due to injuries sustained in a car accident at the age of 38. Briscoe was co-reigning Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion with brother Mark at the time of his death. Alongside Mark, Jay reigned 13 times as Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion, and the two also co-held Tag Team Gold in New Japan, Impact, CZW, and Game Changer Wrestling. As a solo performer, Jay reigned twice as Ring of Honor World Champion. The brothers had just completed a year-spanning trilogy with FTR in Tony Khan's Ring of Honor and had just regained the Ring of Honor tag belts in a double dog collar match at December's Final Battle. In a match held in Briscoe's memory the following week, Mark defeats fellow Ring of Honor alum Jay Lethal. January 19th. The Wall Street Journal reports that Vince McMahon has agreed to an out-of-court settlement with former referee Rita Chatterton, who had made public accusations as far back as 1992 that McMahon had sexually assaulted her in 1986. Chatterton renewed her claims in November, demanding nearly $12 million from the WWE chairman. January 21st. New Japan stages the second part of Wrestle Kingdom 17 at the Yokohama Arena before 5,500 fans. On the card, the LIJ stable wins a best-of-5 series over the Kongo faction, culminating in Tetsuya Naito beating Keno in the deciding match. January 23rd. The 30th anniversary broadcast of WWE Monday Night Raw helps the show to its strongest viewership in nearly 3 years, averaging 2.3 million viewers. In addition to the usual gaggle of guest stars like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and D-Generation X, the anniversary program in Philadelphia includes a trial for Bloodline member Sami Zayn. January 28th. WWE holds its annual Royal Rumble before over 47,000 fans at San Antonio's Alamo Dome. The titular Rumbles are won by a returning Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley, while Roman Reigns retains the WWE Universal title against Kevin Owens. The show concludes with Sami Zayn turning on Reigns, striking him with a steel chair after refusing orders to hit Owens with the weapon. In the men's Rumble match, #1 entrant Gunther lasts over 71 minutes, setting a new company record for 30-person Rumbles. The Royal Rumble also marks the final televised bout for Bray Wyatt, who defeats LA Knight in a bizarre pitch black match sponsored by Mountain Dew. January 31st. Kota Ibushi's New Japan contract expires more than 15 months after he last wrestled for the organization. The inaugural IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Ibushi had spent much of the previous 14 years with New Japan, but made several troubling accusations about the organization the prior May, alleging Yakuza involvement and sexual harassment. February 2nd. Lanny Poffo, a regular WWF performer from 1985 to 1992, passes away from heart failure, aged 68. The son of Angelo Poffo and the brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, Poffo followed Savage into the WWF, playing a babyface poet known as Leaping Lanny. In 1989, Poffo turned heel to become The Genius, a hybrid wrestler/manager that guided Mr. Perfect and even scored a nationally televised count-out win over reigning WWF champ Hulk Hogan. Prior to joining the WWF, Poffo was a regular for territories such as Mid-South and Memphis's Continental, as well as his father's outlaw ICW promotion, where he reigned 3 times as heavyweight champion. On the same date, veteran AWA performer Kenny Sodbuster J passes away at the age of 85. Primarily used as an underneath wrestler, Jay was well regarded by his peers as an extremely skilled enhancement talent, selling admirably for ascending and proven wrestlers from the early 60s to the mid-80s. In recognition of his skills, in 2005, Jay became the first strictly enhancement talent honored by the Cauliflower Alley Club. February 4th. NXT Vengeance Day is held before 5,700 fans at Charlotte's Spectrum Center. In the main event, Bron Breakker retains the NXT title over Grayson Waller in a steel cage match. The men's and women's tag team titles both change hands on the card as Gallus capture the men's belts in a four-way bout, while Fallon Henley and Kiana James win the women's gold from Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. On the same date, Stardom holds their 12th anniversary show, Supreme Fight, before 1,800 fans in Osaka. In the main event, Julia retains her World of Stardom title over Suzu Suzuki, while the Neo Stardom Army retain the Goddesses of Stardom title over the team of Donna Del Mondo. February 5th. Charlie Norris, best known nationally for a brief run with WCW in 1993, passes away at the age of 59. Norris primarily wrestled in his native Minnesota for much of his 18-year career, with stints in Texas and Japan in the late 90s. Norris wrestled at several WCW pay-per-views, including the 1993 incarnations of Fall Brawl and Halloween Havoc. February 6th. Lita makes a surprise return on WWE Raw, helping Becky Lynch defeat Bayley in a steel cage match, while nullifying the interference of Damage Control. On the same date, Jerry Lawler suffers a stroke near his Florida home. After undergoing emergency surgery, the King ends up in a stable condition, with expectations for a full recovery. February 7th. MLW Underground debuts on the Reels network. However, due to an agreement between Reels and Peacock, an exclusivity deal with WWE results in MLW's deal with Reels being a short-lived one. February 12th. Billy Two Rivers, star wrestler from 1953 to 1977 in the US, Canada, UK, and Japan, passes away at the age of 87. The globally renowned Two Rivers was a star in his native Quebec, as well as a major attraction in the United Kingdom throughout the early 60s. In retirement, Two Rivers became an outspoken political activist, as well as leader of the Mohawk Nation on the Kanawake Reservation. February 14th. Jerry Jarrett, longtime wrestler and promoter across several decades, passes away from a heart attack, aged 80. The son of promoter Christine Jarrett, Jerry worked in the business since his childhood, turning pro in 1965. Jarrett was best known for his years as promoter, booking Memphis's Continental Territory alongside his mother beginning in the late 70s. In the late 80s, Jarrett acquired the remnants of Dallas's World Class, merging the two groups to form the United States Wrestling Association, before leaving the promotional game in the mid-90s. In 2002, Jarrett co-founded NWA Total Nonstop Action, later Impact Wrestling and then rebranded back to TNA, with son Jeff. In the interim years, Jarrett consulted for both the WWF and WCW. He was inducted into the NWA Hall of Fame in 2009. February 18th. WWE stages Elimination Chamber before 14,000 fans at Montreal's Bell Centre. In the main event, popular local star Sami Zayn falls short in his bid to unseat WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, despite increased fervor and metrics that may have justified a title change. Zayn, with a little help from Kevin Owens, did get the last laugh at the end of the night, receiving a standing ovation after laying out the entire bloodline. In the undercard, Austin Theory successfully defends his United States title inside the titular structure, while Edge teams with wife Beth Phoenix to defeat Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. In an all-too-brief singles encounter, Bobby Lashley scores a disqualification victory over Brock Lesnar. On the same date, New Japan holds Battle in the Valley before 2,100 fans in San Jose. On the card, Mercedes Moné wins the IWGP Women's title from Kairi, while Eddie Kingston defeats Jay White in a loser leaves New Japan match 10 nights before White's contract expires. February 21st. Keiji Muto wrestles the final matches of his career at a special retirement card before over 30,000 fans at the Tokyo Dome. After putting over Tetsuya Naito in a 29-minute epic, Muto then challenges longtime rival Masahiro Chono, who was at ringside, to a match then and there. With veteran official Tiger Hattori as referee, the ailing Chono submits Muto with his trademark STF to mark the end of both men's storied careers. February 24th. Jeff Hardy is sentenced to 2 years probation and fined over $4,000 for his third DUI in 10 years, stemming from an arrest the previous June. Hardy will also not be allowed to apply for a new driving license for 10 years. March 2nd. The first Tony Khan-helmed episode of weekly Ring of Honor television airs on Honor Club. In the main event, world champion Claudio Castagnoli retains his title over AR Fox. On the same date, former WWE developmental talent Brett DiBiase pleads guilty to a federal charge of wrongfully spending welfare money. Father Ted Sr. and brother Ted Jr., along with former NFL star Brett Favre and several other individuals, are also accused of misappropriating Mississippi welfare funds. March 4th. Stardom holds the finals of Triangle Derby before 1,900 fans in Tokyo. World of Stardom champion Julia fights Maya Yukihi to a double countout, while the group Prominence defeats the God's Eye faction in the Triangle Derby final for the Artist of Stardom title. March 5th. AEW holds the 4th annual Revolution before 9,000 fans at San Francisco's Chase Center. The critically lauded pay-per-view features 2 genuine show stealers: Hangman Page's submission victory over Jon Moxley in a brutal Texas death match, and MJF returning the world title over Bryan Danielson in overtime of a 60-minute Iron Man match, 4 falls to 3. The pay-per-view also features the formation of the Outcasts following a Ruby Soho heel turn, the House of Black capturing the trio's titles from the Elite, and Jack Perry defeating Christian Cage in a final burial match. March 6th. Months after being reinstalled as chairman of WWE, Vince McMahon attends the Raw tapings in Boston. Though McMahon spends most of the show at Gorilla, Paul Levesque remains the broadcast's primary producer. The Raw broadcast features a homecoming return for John Cena, who sets up a match at WrestleMania 39 with United States champion Austin Theory. March 8th. Sarray leaves WWE at the expiration of her contract. She last wrestled for WWE on the NXT brand in August. March 12th. WWE draws more than 11,000 fans to Madison Square Garden for a Sunday house show. In the main event, Austin Theory retains his US title over Seth Rollins in a steel cage match. March 13th. Impact Wrestling Executive Vice President Scott D'Amore is promoted to president as part of several changes to the company hierarchy. In another change, Lou D'Angeli, former WWE executive as well as former ECW manager Sign Guy Dudley, is brought on board as Vice President of Marketing. March 14th. WWE 2K23 is released for current and previous gen platforms. The favorably reviewed game features deeper creation suites, an emphasis on in-match stamina, and the debut of War Games. March 15th. Former Impact and AAA star Taya Valkyrie debuts for All Elite Wrestling, confronting TBS champion Jade Cargill. Valkyrie has her first AEW match on the night's Rampage tapings. The same day, Jeff Gaylord, a regular performer for various territories and top indies of the 80s and 90s, passes away from a brief illness at the age of 64. Nicknamed the Missouri Tiger, the imposing Gaylord wrestled for the UWF, World Class, and USWA between 1985 and 1995, and competed under a mask as the Black Knight at the 1993 WWF Survivor Series. March 17th. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn formally reunite as babyfaces in an angle on WWE SmackDown, setting them up to challenge the Usos for the unified tag titles at WrestleMania 39. The same day, Davey Richards announces his sudden retirement from professional wrestling after an ex-partner makes public allegations of domestic violence and drug use. Richards denies the claims but announces his retirement as several orgs publicly distance themselves from him. March 19th. Josh Alexander, Impact World Champion of nearly 1 year, tears his triceps at a AAA event, necessitating vacancy of the championship. Alexander was intended to defend the title at the following month's Rebellion pay-per-view against Steve Macklin. March 21st. Sanada outlasts 23 other men to win the annual New Japan Cup, defeating David Finlay in the finals in Nagaoka. En route to facing Finlay, Sanada defeated Taichi, Kenta, Tetsuya Naito, and Mark Davis in the earlier rounds. March 22nd. Kenny Omega defeats AAA star El Hijo del Vikingo in a critically hailed main event on AEW Dynamite. March 25th. Starlight Kid and Karma become the first Stardom New Blood Tag Team Champions after defeating God's Eye in a tournament final in Yokohama. March 28th. Ringmaster by Abraham Josephine Reisman is released. The book is a scathing, unauthorized polarized glimpse of Vince McMahon throughout the 20th century, covering his personal life, business career, and the tribulations and scandals with which he was intertwined. March 31st. WWE holds its annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Los Angeles. Still active Rey Mysterio headlines a class that includes the Great Muta, Stacy Keibler, celebrity inductee Andy Kaufman, and referee Tim White. On the same date, also in Los Angeles, Ring of Honor holds Supercard of Honor before 4,400 fans at the Galen Center. In the main event, world champion Claudio Castagnoli ekes past longtime rival Eddie Kingston. In the undercard, the Lucha Bros win the vacant world tag team titles in a 5-way ladder match, during which Dante Martin suffers a horrific leg injury while performing a high-risk spot with Penta El Zero Miedo. April 1st. NXT Stand and Deliver draws 7,500 fans to LA's Crypto.com arena. In the main event, Carmelo Hayes wins the NXT title, ending the 362-day reign of Bron Breakker. Also on the card, Indy Hartwell captures the NXT Women's title in a 6-way ladder match that includes defending champion Roxanne Perez. Later that night, the first night of WrestleMania 39 takes place in front of 67,000 fans at LA's SoFi Stadium. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win the unified tag titles from the Usos in the evening's finale, while Rhea Ripley wins the SmackDown Women's title from Charlotte Flair. The night opens with Austin Theory scoring a major career coup by defeating John Cena to retain the US title. In addition, new Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio picks up a victory over his estranged son, Dominic. April 2nd. The second night of WrestleMania 39 draws another 67,000 fans to SoFi Stadium. The main event result proves polarizing, as Eternal Universal Champion Roman Reigns retains the gold over heavy favorite Cody Rhodes, cocking up the prognostications of most. Also on the card, Gunther retains the IC belt over Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in an instant classic, while Edge defeats Finn Balor inside Hell in a Cell, and Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair retains her title over Asuka. In the evening's lowlight, a returning Shane McMahon sustains a leg injury during an impromptu match against The Miz. On the same date, Robert Butch Miller, one half of the Sheepherders and the Bushwhackers for decades alongside Brian Luke Williams, passes away at the age of 78. The New Zealand-born Miller worked alongside Williams in various territories throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, portraying bloodthirsty brutes while winning numerous regional tag team championships. Among their most noted rivals were the Fantastics, whom Miller and Williams brawled with in violent bouts during the mid-80s. Miller's biggest star turn came in his mid-40s, when he and Williams joined the WWF as the Bushwhackers in 1988, shedding their heel personae to become lovable oddballs. Miller and Williams portrayed the Bushwhackers for most of the remainder of their careers, before Miller retired from the ring in 2001. The pair were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015. April 3rd. WWE announces it's reached a deal with Endeavor to merge with UFC parent company Zuffa to form TKO Group Holdings. In this new arrangement, Endeavor owns 51% stake in the co-op to the 49% owned by WWE stockholders, marking the first time that majority interest in WWE is not owned by the McMahon family. Vince McMahon stays on as chairman of WWE at the apparent behest of Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel. Speaking of Vince, on the same date, the chairman is reportedly fully in charge backstage at the post-WrestleMania episode of Raw in Los Angeles. The result is a disorganized and unsatisfactory broadcast that earns heavy criticism. Also on the same date, Max Crabtree, noted star wrestler and promoter in the United Kingdom, passes away at the age of 90. The younger brother of Shirley Big Daddy Crabtree, Max wrestled regularly in the 50s and 60s before turning to promoting. As the booker of joint promotions, Crabtree oversaw big business in the late 70s and early 80s with his brother as star attraction. The younger Crabtree is also credited for inventing the Big Daddy persona for Shirley. April 5th, AEW announces that it's booked the massive Wembley Stadium for the August 27th All-In pay-per-view. To this point, AEW has only ever had one crowd of more than 20,000 fans, that being the 2021 Grand Slam in New York City. On the same date, after negotiating with both WWE and AEW, Jay White signs with All Elite Wrestling and makes his contractual debut with the organization, helping Juice Robinson beat down Ricky Starks on that night's Dynamite. Also signing with AEW is Nigel McGuinness, who appeared at the previous Friday's Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. WWE had released McGuinness in October. April 8th. Less than 1 month after winning the New Japan Cup, Sanada wins the IWGP World Heavyweight title, defeating Kazuchika Okada in 27 minutes in the main event of Sakura Genesis in Tokyo. April 15th. Mirai wins the 2023 Stardom Cinderella Tournament, defeating Mai Sakurai in the finals in Tokyo. On the same date, John Morrison, aka Johnny TV in AEW, wins a celebrity boxing match in Tampa, defeating Harley Morenstein of Epic Mealtime via third-round knockout. April 16th. AAA holds the first leg of Triple Mania 31 before 14,000 fans in Monterrey. El Hijo del Vikingo wins the AAA Mega Championship in a four-way bout over Commander, Rich Swann, and Swerve Strickland, while Vampiro makes a surprise appearance, defeating Chessman. Also on the card, Argenis is forced to unmask after losing to rival Mr. Z's Jr. On the same date, Impact holds its annual Rebellion pay-per-view in Toronto. With the men's and women's world titles vacant, the latter after Mickie James sustained an injury, the belts are won by real-life couple Steve Macklin and Deonna Purrazzo, who defeat Kushida and Jordynne Grace respectively. Also on the card, Nick Aldis returns to the organization, though he only stays a few months before signing with WWE in August. April 20th. Former WWE performer Ted DiBiase Jr. is indicted on multiple counts in relation to the Mississippi Welfare Funds scandal, including charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and theft concerning programs receiving federal funds. If convicted, DiBiase faces multiple years in prison. April 23rd. Several significant title changes occur at Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom before 5,500 fans at Yokohama Arena. Among the 5 dethronings on the night, Tam Nakano defeats Julia to win the World of Stardom Championship, while Mayu Iwatani defeats Mercedes Moné to win the IWGP Women's Championship. April 24th. While still on injury hiatus from AEW, CM Punk briefly shows up backstage at a Raw taping in his native Chicago before he's asked to leave, reportedly at the behest of Vince McMahon. On the Raw in question, Triple H announces the creation of a new World Heavyweight title, which kinda looks like a half-melted version of the classic Big Gold with a big dark WWE logo stamped on the center plate. The championship will be exclusive to whatever brand isn't home to the many no-shows of Roman Reigns. Also on this date, AEW Dark Elevation broadcasts for the final time, one day before AEW Dark signs off as well. A new deal with Warner Bros. Discovery calls for WBD to have exclusive broadcast rights to AEW programming, leading to the end of the 2 YouTube series. April 26th. Roderick Strong debuts for AEW, making the save for Adam Cole and several other babyfaces. Previously signed to WWE, Strong's contract apparently lapsed the prior November, with no public notice made of his exit. April 27th. Former WWE writer Brittany Abrahams sues the company for wrongful termination, claiming she was fired in April 2022 after openly objecting to what was termed offensively racist and stereotypical jargon in SmackDown scripts, with the suit detailing several alleged pitches. Abrahams would go on to voluntarily dismiss her suit in August. April 28th. WWE's annual draft commences in Corpus Christi, Texas. Notable brand switches include Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair to SmackDown along with the Street Profits, Edge and Bobby Lashley, while Imperium, Drew McIntyre and Shinsuke Nakamura all move to Raw. On the same date, Trinity, the former Naomi, makes her Impact debut in suburban Chicago. Trinity's first appearance is during a confrontation between Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo and rival Jordynne Grace. April 30th. Longtime MLW performer Richard Holliday makes his return to wrestling 10 months after being diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. After making a surprise run-in at a Beyond Wrestling event, Holliday announces that his cancer is in remission. May 1st. WWE's draft continues in Fort Worth, Texas. Brand switches include US champion Austin Theory and Asuka to SmackDown, as well as tag team champion Sami Zayn, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and The New Day to Raw. On the same day, Carmella announces that she and Corey Graves are expecting a child. Their son Dimitri is born in November. May 2nd. Indy Hartwell vacates the NXT Women's Championship due to both a recent injury and her being drafted to the Raw brand. May 3rd. Sanada retains his IWGP World Heavyweight title over Junior Heavyweight Champion Hiromu Takahashi in the main event of Wrestling Dontaku. The 4,400 fans in Fukuoka witnessed 3 title changes, the most notable being David Finlay winning the Never Openweight belt from Tama Tonga. May 4th. Stardom draws 1,300 fans to Fukuoka Goddess Legend, where Mina Shirakawa retains her Wonder of Stardom title in the main event over Natsupoi. May 5th. AEW All In at Wembley Stadium reaches 60,000 tickets sold. More than 36,000 tickets were moved in the pre-sale 3 days earlier. May 6th. WWE Backlash draws more than 17,000 fans to Coliseo de Puerto Rico in San Juan. In the main event, Cody Rhodes ekes past Brock Lesnar after countering the Kimura lock into a pinning combo. Earlier in the night, Bianca Belair retains her Raw Women's title in an excellent bout against Io Sky. The evening's highlight is a San Juan street fight, in which Bad Bunny defeats Damian Priest, a match that sees involvement from a pair of renowned Puerto Rican stars in Carlito and Savio Vega. May 7th. All Japan's annual Champion Carnival concludes with Shotaro Ashino defeating T-Hawk in Tokyo in a 25-minute final. Unfortunately, Ashino suffers an arm fracture during the bout, sidelining him for many months ahead. May 10th. Don Callis turns on Kenny Omega, attacking him with a screwdriver during the waning moments of a steel cage match between Omega and Jon Moxley in Detroit. May 12th. Vince McMahon agrees to pay the legal costs for the plaintiffs of 2 stockholder-filled class action lawsuits. The suits claim McMahon changed WWE bylaws to give himself more power within WWE upon his return. May 17th. AEW Collision, a new Saturday night program, is announced at the WBD Upfronts. The show is expected to center around returning star CM Punk, but all mentions of Punk are hastily scrubbed from the initial promotions. This is reportedly due to Punk being upset that rehired friend Ace Steel, who was fired for his aggressive role in the prior year's Brawl Out, isn't going to be permitted backstage. On the same day, superstar Billy Graham, one of the most influential stars in professional wrestling history, passes away from multiple organ failure at the age of 79. Graham was a star in numerous territories throughout the 70s, including Florida, San Francisco, and the AWA. In 1977, Graham captured the WWF title from Bruno Sammartino, becoming the promotion's first long-term heel champion, reigning for 10 months. Graham's carved physique and bombastic promo style inspired countless wrestlers of present and future generations, including Hulk Hogan, Jesse Ventura, Triple H, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and many others. Graham is a member of several halls of fame, including WWE, Wrestling Observer, and the Pro Wrestling Hall. May 21st. Mercedes Moné sustains a significant ankle injury during a match with Willow Nightingale at New Japan's Resurgence in Long Beach, California. The match is a tournament final to determine the first ever New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion, with Moné scheduled to win. However, upon realizing the severity of her injury, Moné calls an audible and allows Nightingale to win. May 22nd. Peggy Lee Fowler, best known for stints in AWA and in several of David McLean's all-women organizations, passes away at the age of 64. Known primarily during her career as Peggy Lee Leather, Fowler holds the distinction of main eventing 2 women's wrestling pay-per-views: 1992's LPWA Super Ladies Showdown as Lady X, losing to Terry Power, and 2001's WOW Unleashed as Thug, defeating longtime rival Selena Majors inside a steel cage. Fowler also wrestled for a time with the WWF in the early 80s, teaming with Wendy Richter. May 27th. WWE holds Night of Champions before 13,000 fans at the Jeddah Superdome. On the card, Seth Rollins defeats AJ Styles in the tournament final to become the first World Heavyweight Champion of the new title's lineage. In the main event, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn retain the unified tag team titles over Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And elsewhere on the card, Brock Lesnar defeats Cody Rhodes, while Trish Stratus scores a victory over Becky Lynch. On the same date, Stardom Flashing Champions takes place before 1,700 fans in Tokyo. In the main event, World of Stardom champion Tam Nakano defeats Wonder of Stardom champion Mina Shirakawa in a winner-take-all match. May 28th. AEW holds Double or Nothing before over 10,000 fans at Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena. In a match pitting AEW's early prospects against one another, MJF retains his world title over fellow pillars Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jack Perry in a 4-way match. In the main event, the Blackpool Combat Club defeat the Elite in an 8-man Anarchy in the Arena match, after interference from Konosuke Takeshita, who betrays Kenny Omega. In the undercard, a returning Chris Statlander shatters both Jade Cargill's perfect record and her 508-day reign as TBS champion, defeating her in an impromptu match to win the title. Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter loses her title in 3 minutes to Toni Storm in Hayter's last match before going off to recover from a shoulder injury. On the same date, NXT holds Battleground before 3,400 fans in Lowell, Massachusetts. Carmelo Hayes retains the NXT title over Bron Breakker, while Tiffany Stratton wins the vacant NXT Women's title after defeating Lyra Valkyria in a tournament final. The most acclaimed match of the evening sees Ilya Dragunov defeat Dijak in a last man standing bout. Also on the date, Master Wato wins New Japan's annual Best of the Super Juniors tournament, defeating Titan in a 25-minute final. May 30th. Vice rolls out its 4th season of Dark Side of the Ring. The premiere episode focuses on the rise and fall of Chris Candido and Tammy Sytch. May 31st. Tony Khan officially announces on AEW Dynamite that CM Punk will return on the premiere episode of Collision, at the same United Center in Chicago where Punk made his AEW debut in 2021. June 2nd. Braun Strowman undergoes fusion surgery on his C4 and C5 vertebrae and is expected to miss roughly 1 year of action. On the same day, at a SmackDown broadcast on the 1006th day of his Universal title reign, Roman Reigns is given a new singular belt by Triple H to represent both the WWE and Universal titles. June 4th. New Japan Dominion draws 7,000 fans to Osaka-jo Hall. In the main event, Sanada retains his IWGP World Heavyweight title over Yota Tsuji. On the night, 2 matches are set up for Forbidden Door, as Bryan Danielson challenges Kazuchika Okada, while Will Ospreay defeats Lance Archer to become #1 contender to Kenny Omega's United States title. On the same date, Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch win the 2023 Crockett Cup in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, after defeating Blunt Force Trauma in the finals. June 5th. WWE signs a multi-year partnership with Twitch, allowing for contracted talents to have their own personal channels while setting up an alternate watch-along broadcast of Monday Night Raw. June 7th. The Iron Sheik, one of the most memorable ring villains and colorful characters in industry history, passes away from congestive heart failure at the age of 81. A decorated amateur wrestler and veteran of multiple territories, Sheik was best known as the middleman who ended Bob Backlund's 6-year WWF title reign in late 1983, before dropping the title to Hulk Hogan 4 weeks later to kick off the WWF's impending boom period. Sheik traded on his Iranian heritage to play one of pro wrestling's most prolific foreign heels stateside, his peak coming around the time of the Iran hostage crisis of the early 80s. Post-wrestling, Sheik gained new celebrity for his profane rants and unfiltered musings in various talk show appearances and shoot interviews. June 9th, WWE begins a rebranding process for their women's singles titles, dropping brand designations. Asuka's Raw Women's title becomes the WWE Women's Championship, while Rhea Ripley's SmackDown belt becomes the Women's World title. On the same date, Alex Shelley becomes Impact World Champion after defeating Steve Maclin at Against All Odds in Columbus, Ohio. His Motor City Machine Guns partner Chris Sabin wins the X Division title on the same night from Trey Miguel. Also on the date, New Japan, All Japan, and Pro Wrestling Noah hold All Together again, an 11-match joint card before 6,500 fans at Ryogoku Sumo Hall. In an interpromotional main event, Kazuchika Okada, Keno, and Yuma Aoyagi defeat Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kaito Kiyomiya, and Kento Miyahara. Also on the date, NBC cancels Young Rock after 3 seasons. Upon hearing the news, Chad Frost lost his smile and vowed to never do jobs again. June 12th. AEW coach BJ Whitmer is arrested on charges of domestic battery by strangulation, as well as burglary. AEW terminates his employment the same day. June 15th. Carlito re-signs with WWE. He won't formally wrestle for the company again until October, when he joins Rey Mysterio's LWO. June 16th. Jey Uso turns face for the first time in 3 years, striking Roman Reigns and reuniting with brother Jimmy to sever his ties to the bloodline. June 17th. AEW Collision premieres, drawing over 10,000 fans to Chicago's United Center. On the night, CM Punk makes his first AEW appearance in over 9 months. During his promo, Punk takes a not-so-veiled shot at the Young Bucks while brandishing a red bag that we later learn contains the physical AEW World title belt that he never lost. Punk also returns to the ring that night, teaming with FTR to defeat Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Samoa Joe. June 19th. California District Judge Edward Davila rules that there's enough circumstantial evidence to merit a trial in MLW's antitrust suit against WWE. June 25th. Like the Maiden 2022 event, AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door is a critical success, drawing over 13,000 fans to Toronto's Scotiabank Arena. The evening's highlight is Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega's enthralling 40-minute clash in which Ospreay regains the United States title. In the main event, Bryan Danielson, despite breaking his arm, defeats Kazuchika Okada with a creative employment of the label lock. Jack Perry formally turns heel earlier in the night, attacking Hook after losing to IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Sanada. The 2023 Owen Hart Cup begins on the card as CM Punk defeats Satoshi Kojima in a lariat-filled men's quarterfinal. On the same date, Stardom Sunshine takes place before 1,700 fans in Tokyo. The main event is a 6-on-6 cage match between stables Queen's Quest and Oedo Tai, in which the losing participant will be expelled from their group. That individual is Oedo Tai member Saki Kashima, who subsequently turns down a post-match offer to join the victorious Queen's Quest. June 29th. More than a year after development was announced, AEW finally releases Fight Forever for various platforms. The game earns mixed reviews, including praise for the unique match types and throwback mayhem, as well as criticism for technical errors and limited options and depth when compared to other titles. Still, it's the only game on the market where Riho converses with you while you eat avocado toast. June 30th. Darren Drozdov, former football player turned WWF prospect during the Attitude Era, passes away at the age of 54. Drozdov became known to WWF audiences simply as Droz, the tattered and pierced do-gooder that aligned with LOD 2000 in 1998. Droz was known for a peculiar talent in which he could vomit on command, briefly earning him the nickname Puke. Sadly, Drozdov's career abruptly ended in October 1999 as a result of an in-ring accident during a match with D'Lo Brown. Drozdov was rendered quadriplegic as a result, though he later regained use of his upper body and arms. Drozdov continued to be affiliated with WWE as both a website contributor and recurring guest on WWE's Bite This internet program. July 1st. WWE Money in the Bank takes place before over 18,000 fans at the O2 Arena in London. In the main event, the Usos defeat Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline Civil War after Jey Uso pins Reigns. The result marks the first time Reigns has been pinned in a match since December 2019. The event's titular ladder matches are won by Damian Priest and Io Sky respectively, while World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins defeats Finn Balor. Making a guest appearance on the card is John Cena, who suggests that London get to host WrestleMania one day before giving an attitude adjustment to Grayson Waller. July 2nd. Stardom Midsummer Champions takes place before 1,300 fans in Yokohama. In the main event, Saori Anou defeats Natsupoi in a strap match, while Mirai wins the Wonder of Stardom title from double champion Tam Nakano. July 5th. Longtime WWE attorney Jerry McDevitt is replaced as defense counsel in the ongoing MLW antitrust case, weeks after a ruling that gives clearance to a potential trial. McDevitt later confirms that he was looking toward retirement at the end of 2023. July 7th. WWE SmackDown, featuring the trial of Roman Reigns, draws 2,561,000 viewers and a 0.76 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, marking the first time in the history of English-language television that the most-watched program in a given week is pro wrestling. July 11th. Mike Halleck, superweight brawler best known for portraying Mantar in the mid-90s WWF, passes away at the age of 55. In addition to playing the mythical Beast in a short-lived WWF stint, Halleck wrestled for promotions such as ECW, USWA, and Austria's Catch Wrestling Association, where he competed as Bruiser Mastino. Halleck won the 1992 Catch Cup and held the USWA heavyweight title for a brief spell in 1997. July 15th. Impact Slammiversary draws 1,500 fans to Windsor, Ontario. Alex Shelley defeats Nick Aldis to retain the world title, while Trinity submits Deonna Purrazzo to win the Knockouts Championship. The card features the Impact return of Eric Young, who had re-signed with WWE the prior year, but confirmed that Vince McMahon's return led to him asking for his release in April. Also on the date, the finals of the Men's and Women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup take place on AEW Collision before 5,800 fans in Calgary. Willow Nightingale pins Ruby Soho to win the women's tournament, while Ricky Starks defeats CM Punk to win the men's, albeit in underhanded fashion. This commences an unexpected heel turn for the popular Starks. Also on the day, the second leg of AAA Triplemania 31 takes place in Tijuana. After the event, Don Callis, who managed El Hijo del Vikingo to victory over Kenny Omega, is legitimately assaulted by a fan at the post-show presser during an angle in which Callis has Konosuke Takeshita ambush Omega. The man jumps Callis from behind, injuring his eardrum and busting open his mouth before getting pulled away. July 17th. Federal agents execute a search warrant on the home of Vince McMahon, while also serving him with a federal grand jury subpoena. The search warrant is reported to be in relation to the allegations of McMahon paying out millions of dollars to several women after being accused of sexual misconduct. Sometime over the following days, McMahon undergoes a 4-hour procedure that is termed major spinal surgery. July 19th. AEW holds its third annual Blood and Guts in front of 9,000 fans at Boston's TD Garden. Inside the namesake cage, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, the Young Bucks, and a debuting Kota Ibushi defeat Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Pac, and Konosuke Takeshita. A handcuffed Moxley has to surrender on behalf of his team after Takeshita and Pac walk out due to dissension, and Castagnoli and Yuta sustain a hail of further damage. July 21st. Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor takes place in front of 2,900 fans in Trenton. Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena retains her title over Willow Nightingale in the main event, while Ring of Honor Champion Claudio Castagnoli defeats Pac in the semi-main. In the evening's lone title exchange, Aussie Open win the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles in a 4-way bout. July 24th. Exotic Adrian Street, one of pro wrestling's most colorful and influential characters, passes away after several health issues including sepsis and a stroke at the age of 82. With a career spanning more than 50 years, Street was best known for his flamboyant stage persona, complete with garish makeup and frilly costumes. Street was often accompanied by valet Miss Linda, whom he later married. He was also a two-time All-Star Wrestling middleweight champion in England, while capturing championships in Florida, Mid-South, and NWA Hollywood stateside. He was honored by the Cauliflower Alley Club in 2005. July 30th. NXT's Great American Bash draws 4,200 fans to the H-E-B Center in Cedar Park, Texas. NXT champion Carmelo Hayes defeats Ilya Dragunov in the main event, while women's champion Tiffany Stratton retains over Thea Hale. The event features the much-maligned first-ever match for former Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, who goes to a double countout with Baron Corbin. July 31st. American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes is released on Peacock. AEW and the original All In are featured in the WWE-produced documentary, as is footage from Being the Elite. August 2nd. The 200th episode of AEW Dynamite takes place before 4,800 fans in Tampa. On the night where AEW World Champion MJF vs. Adam Cole is announced as the main event of London's All In, Hikaru Shida captures her second AEW Women's title by defeating Toni Storm. The same day, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page all sign new multi-year deals with AEW, thereby keeping the Elite in All Elite Wrestling. Also on the day, WWE announces its largest quarter in the history of the company, over $410 million in revenue and over $52 million in profits. August 5th. WWE SummerSlam draws over 51,000 fans to Detroit's Ford Field. In a polarizing main event, Roman Reigns retains the WWE Universal title in a tribal combat match over Jey Uso, after Jimmy Uso double-crosses his brother. Just before the main event, Io Sky cashes in her Money in the Bank briefcase, defeating WWE Women's Champion Bianca Belair in seconds to win the title. SummerSlam also includes the final WWE match of Ronda Rousey, who loses to longtime friend Shayna Baszler in an MMA rules match. Also in the undercard, Cody Rhodes scores another victory over Brock Lesnar. August 9th. Rob Van Dam wrestles his first match for AEW, losing to FTW champion Jack Perry at a Dynamite taping in Columbus, Ohio. August 12th. The final night of AAA Triplemania 31 draws 15,000 to Mexico City. The evening is a mixed bag of action, highlighted by El Hijo del Vikingo retaining the Mega title in a four-way bout over Daga, Jack Cartwheel, and Mike Bailey. Much of the rest of the night is less warmly received, particularly a clunky match between aging stars Negro Casas and Nicho El Millonario, the former Psychosis. August 13th. Tetsuya Naito captures his third overall G1 climax, winning the tournament's 33rd incarnation by defeating Kazuchika Okada in a 34-minute final in Tokyo. On the same day, Stardom draws close to 1,800 fans to Osaka's Summer Team. In the main event, Tam Nakano retains her World of Stardom belt against Megan Bayne. August 17th. Lacey Evans confirms that she's left WWE, 2 days after the expiration of her contract. Evans claims that she wants to focus on helping individuals with mental health and addiction issues. August 18th. Reigning AEW World Tag Team Champion Cash Wheeler turns himself in to Orlando authorities and is charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a firearm after reportedly flashing a handgun during a road rage incident the previous month. Wheeler is released on a $2,500 bond and has his gun permit suspended, pending the case's outcome. The same day, Edge wrestles his final WWE match during a special SmackDown commemorating the 25th anniversary of his promotional debut. In front of 14,000 fans in his native Toronto, Edge defeats Sheamus in the main event. August 20th. Impact Wrestling and New Japan hold Multiverse United 2 at the former ECW Arena in Philadelphia. In the main event, Alex Shelley retains the Impact World title against Hiroshi Tanahashi. August 23rd. Terry Funk, former NWA and ECW World Champion and renowned legend with a career spanning 6 decades, passes away at the age of 79. The son of Dory Funk Sr. and brother of Dory Jr., Funk wrestled for virtually every major promotion and territory between 1965 and 2017, including WWE, WCW, ECW, All Japan, and in various regional American strongholds. Funk won the NWA World title in December 1975 and held it for 14 months. In the role of battle-tested grizzled veteran, Funk won the ECW World title at the promotion's first pay-per-view in 1997 at the age of 52. Known for his gritty battles with the likes of Ric Flair, Jerry Lawler, and Dusty Rhodes, Funk later became synonymous with hardcore and deathmatch wrestling, intertwining his career with fellow risk-takers such as Sabu and Mick Foley. August 24th. Bray Wyatt, omnipresent star of latter-day WWE and multiple-time world champion, passes away from a heart attack at the age of 36. A member of the extensive Rotunda Wyndham wrestling family, in 2017, Wyatt became the third-generation wrestler to hold the WWE title, following The Rock and Randy Orton. After debuting the Wyatt persona on the main WWE roster in 2013, Wyatt developed two distinct versions of the character: the riddle-speaking, lantern-toting Southern cult leader, and the demented children's show host whose alter ego was The Fiend, a near-invincible masked demon that preyed on his opponent's psychological weaknesses. Wyatt last wrestled for WWE 6 months before his passing. August 25th. WWE uses its 2-hour SmackDown broadcast in Louisville to pay tribute to both Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. In the evening's main event, LA Knight, Wyatt's final opponent, defeats Finn Balor, the first opponent of Wyatt's Fiend persona. Former Wyatt family members Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman attend the event, which comes less than 3 years after the passing of fellow former member John Luke Harper Huber. In addition, Cody Rhodes speaks on the broadcast in tribute to Funk. August 26th. The NWA holds its 75th anniversary event in St. Louis. The two-night 27-match card concludes with EC3 winning the 10 pounds of gold from Tyrus on the second night in a poorly received match, largely due to Tyrus's limited agility. The match is also Tyrus's apparent in-ring swan song, as he subsequently retires. August 27th. AEW All In sells out London's Wembley Stadium to the tune of either 72,000 or 81,000 fans, depending on which side of the pointless tribalistic war you're on. The historic card ends with MJF retaining his world title over Adam Cole hours after the unlikely Best Friends defeat Aussie Open to win the Ring of Honor tag titles. Elsewhere, countrywoman Saraya wins the AEW Women's World title in a 4-way match, while the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn capture the Trios titles and Will Ospreay defeats Chris Jericho. The event quickly garners headlines for a backstage fight between CM Punk and Jack Perry at the conclusion of the 0-hour pre-show. Perry performs a spot involving glass while making an audible allusion to Punk nixing an earlier attempt to use glass for a TV spot. Punk takes exception to the remarks and attacks Perry backstage before repeatedly lunging toward Tony Khan during the skirmish and making him fear for his life. August 29th. Brian Pillman Jr. signs with WWE after his AEW contract expires the previous month. Pillman enters WWE developmental, taking on the name Lexis King. September 1st. John Cena makes his return to WWE at the Go Home SmackDown before Payback. In his appearance, Cena announces that he'll be the guest host for the pay-per-view and has a verbal confrontation with Jimmy Uso. On the same date, new promotion Sukeban announces its formation via press release. The org is a stable-based all-women's promotion, influenced by girl gangs of the 60s and 70s. Bull Nakano is later revealed to be the group's commissioner. September 2nd. CM Punk is fired from All Elite Wrestling 6 days after his backstage altercation with Jack Perry at All In. Tony Khan later claims that the decision to ultimately fire Punk was made by him, though he did consult with both outside legal counsel and an internal discipline committee, which is later revealed to have been headed up by Bryan Danielson. On the same date, WWE holds Payback before over 14,000 fans at Pittsburgh's PPG Paints Arena. Event host John Cena officiates LA Knight's victory over The Miz, while Judgment Day members Finn Balor and Damian Priest win the tag titles from Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in a street fight. In a steel cage match, Becky Lynch defeats the legendary Trish Stratus. And the main event sees Seth Rollins retain the World Heavyweight title over Shinsuke Nakamura. September 3rd. AEW holds All Out before 9,800 fans at Chicago's United Center, little more more than 24 hours after firing hometown icon CM Punk. In the main event, Jon Moxley wins the international title from Orange Cassidy, who had reigned as champion since the prior October and set a promotional record for most successful defenses of any belt. Also on the card, Bryan Danielson, essentially substituting for Punk, returns to the ring to defeat Ricky Starks in a strap match, while Konosuke Takeshita continues his dominance over Kenny Omega, defeating him in singles action. All Out also features the AEW debut of CJ Perry, who appears after husband Miro defeats Powerhouse Hobbs in an extended tribute to Meat. Also on this date, Stardom draws 825 fans to Hiroshima for 5-star special. New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion Julia defeats Risa Sera, while Mirai retains the Wonder of Stardom title over Konami. September 6th. Adnan Al-Kaisi, whose 40-year career included stints for various major organizations, passes away at the age of 84. The Iraqi-born Al-Kaisi was best known to Golden Age WWF fans as General Adnan, the manager of suddenly anti-American Sergeant Slaughter during the Persian Gulf War. Al-Kaisi emigrated to the United States as an amateur athlete in the 1950s before entering pro wrestling. In addition to his WWF run, Al-Kaisi had a long stint with the AWA as Sheikh Adnan Al-Kaisi, serving as a wrestler/manager for much of the 1980s. In the 1970s, Al-Kaisi competed for a time as Billy White Wolf and held the WWF World Tag Team titles for 8 months with Chief Jay Strongbow. September 8th. Intercontinental Champion Gunter surpasses the Honky Tonk Man's record 454-day championship reign that had stood since 1988. The following month, Gunter will become the first man to hold the IC belt for over 500 days in one reign. On the same date, Gunter celebrates his record by defeating Shanky at WWE's Superstar Spectacle in Hyderabad, India. In the main event, Gunter's Imperium teammates Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser lose to John Cena and Seth Rollins. Also on this date, Brett Sawyer, former headliner in the Oregon Territory in the early 80s, passes away at the age of 63. The younger brother of Buzz Sawyer, Brett held several tag team titles with his sibling, and the two feuded with the likes of the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express across several groups. As a solo performer, Sawyer held the NWA Pacific Northwestern Heavyweight title on 4 occasions. September 9th. The Dudley Boys as Team 3D reunite inside the ring for the first time in 7 years, defeating the Desi Hit Squad at the taping of Impact's 1000th episode in White Plains, New York. The match is also Devon Dudley's first bout since 2016. September 11th. Nia Jax returns to WWE after 2 years away, costing Raquel Rodriguez in her match against Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw in Norfolk, Virginia. September 12th. The official transition of WWE into Endeavor's TKO Group Holdings is finalized. To commemorate the new union, Vince McMahon joins Ari Emanuel, Paul Levesque, Dana White, and others at the New York Stock Exchange for the ceremonial bell tolling. On the same day, Becky Lynch wins the NXT Women's title from Tiffany Stratton in the main event of the brand's weekly program. Lynch becomes the final of the horsewomen to win the belt, more than 7.5 years after her 3 contemporaries each held the gold. Also on the date, and unrelated to the aforementioned Brett Sawyer, Bart Sawyer, a regular in the Portland and Memphis groups of the late 80s and early 90s, passes away at the age of 57. Sawyer used Bart as a first name in honor of the relatively new Bart Simpson character, even cutting his hair and adapting a mischievous streak modeled on Bart. Among his championship glories across various indie groups, Sawyer held the USWA Tag Team titles in 1996 with rookie wrestler Flex Kavana, who we now know better as Dwayne, the most famous person in the world, The Rock Johnson. September 13th. Jade Cargill finishes up with All Elite Wrestling after losing to TBS champion Chris Statlander, her lone AEW conqueror, on a Rampage taping in Cincinnati. September 15th. The Rock returns to WWE SmackDown in Denver. In his appearance, Rock teases a championship match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and beats up Austin Theory to close out his in-ring segment. Unfortunately, the Fox network continually drops the sound as Rock leads the Denver crowd in chanting "You're an asshole" at Theory. Earlier the same day, days after integrating WWE into its company, TKO Holdings cuts more than 100 employees on the office side of WWE. Plans were for TKO to cut between $50 and $100 million in WWE expenses. September 16th. CMLL holds its 90th anniversary show in front of 16,000 fans in Mexico City. The show concludes with Volador Jr. defeating Angel de Oro in a hair versus hair match, followed by Templario beating Dragon Rojo Jr. in a mask versus mask bout. September 17th. Emile Dupree, longtime wrestler as well as the promoter of Grand Prix Wrestling in the Canadian Maritimes, passes away at the age of 86. The father of former WWE performer Rene Dupree, Emile was a territorial regular from 1955 to the early 70s, before working exclusively out of Eastern Canada for most of the remainder of his career. In 1977, Dupree founded Grand Prix, running it regularly into 2008, and hosting, at different times, the likes of Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and even Edge and Christian. September 20th. AEW Grand Slam is held before 11,000 fans at New York's Arthur Ashe Stadium. Eddie Kingston finally wins the Ring of Honor World title by defeating Claudio Castagnoli, while MJF retains his world title over Samoa Joe. Two notable injuries occur during the night, as Jon Moxley is concussed during his international title match with Rey Fenix, and Adam Cole destroys his ankle doing a run-in during the MJF-Joe bout. September 21st. It's announced that WWE SmackDown will be leaving Fox at the expiration of its contract in 1 year's time. Come autumn 2024, SmackDown will return to the USA Network, where it was broadcast from early 2016 to the autumn of 2019. The same day, WWE releases roughly 24 wrestlers from its main and developmental rosters. Among the biggest names are longtime performers Dolph Ziggler and Shelton Benjamin, and later arrivals like Riddick Moss, Mustafa Ali, Dana Brooke, Elias, Emma, Rick Boogs, and Maximum Male Models. September 22nd. Matt Riddle is released from WWE. His release comes less than 2 weeks after a bizarre incident at JFK Airport, in which Riddle created a public disturbance and later claimed on social media that a security officer assaulted and harassed him, though Riddle later takes the posts down. September 24th. New Japan Pro Wrestling holds Destruction in Kobe before 4,200 fans at Kobe Hall. In the main event, Will Ospreay retains the IWGP United States title over Yota Tsuji. September 26th. WWE announces that it signed former AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill to a multi-year deal, with ESPN providing additional coverage of her signing. September 29th. Joyce Grable, a multi-time title holder for various NWA groups in the 70s and 80s, passes away from leukemia at the age of 70. A longtime partner of Wendy Richter's, Grable held the NWA World Women's Tag Team titles with her on 3 occasions, and with Vicky Williams another 3 times. As a singles wrestler, Grable held the NWA Texas Women's title, as well as the NWA United States Women's belt. She was inducted into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2013. September 30th. NXT No Mercy takes place before nearly 5,000 fans in Bakersfield, California. On the card, Ilya Dragunov defeats Carmelo Hayes to win the NXT Championship, while Becky Lynch retains the NXT Women's title over Tiffany Stratton in an Extreme Rules match. In the undercard, Trick Williams defeats Dominic Mysterio to win the NXT North American title. On the same date, Stardom holds the finals of 5-Star Grand Prix before 2,500 fans in Yokohama. The tournament is won by Suzu Suzuki, who defeats Maika in the round-robin final. October 1st. AEW Wrestle Dream draws over 7,100 fans to Seattle's Climate Pledge Arena and is held in honor of Antonio Inoki, who passed away 1 year earlier. At the end of the night, Adam Copeland makes his AEW debut, 24 hours after his WWE contract expires. Copeland aligns himself against Christian Cage, following Cage's TNT title retention over Darby Allin in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Also on the card, Bryan Danielson defeats Zack Sabre Jr. in a brutal mat-based masterpiece, while Swerve Strickland defeats Hangman Page to mark his biggest solo win to date. And in the semi-main, FTR retain their tag titles over Aussie Open. On the same date, Russ Francis, former All-Pro tight end for the NFL's Patriots and 49ers, who had stints with the AWA and WWF, passes away following an aviation accident at the age of 70. The son of wrestler and promoter Sir Edmund Francis, Russ is best known for participating in the NFL-centric WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal, where he survived to the match's final quartet. At one point, Francis and brother Billy reigned as tag team champions in their father's NWA Hawaii territory. This distinction makes Francis one of 3 men as of this recording to win both a Super Bowl and a Pro Wrestling Championship, joining Steve Mongo McMichael and Rob Gronkowski. October 7th. WWE Fastlane draws over 14,000 fans to Indianapolis's Gainbridge Fieldhouse. In the main event of the 5-match card, Seth Rollins retains the World Heavyweight title over Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match. Also on the card, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso win the unified tag team titles from the Judgment Day, while John Cena teams with LA Knight to defeat Bloodline members Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. And Io Sky retains her WWE Women's title over Asuka and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. October 9th. New Japan draws 5,000 fans to Destruction in Ryogoku at Sumo Hall. In the main event, Sanada retains the IWGP World Heavyweight title over Evil in a polarizing 28-minute lumberjack death match. Elsewhere on the card, Tama Tonga retains the Never Openweight title after defeating David Finlay. October 10th. WWE NXT goes head-to-head with a Tuesday night edition of AEW Dynamite. WWE loads up the NXT broadcast with appearances by John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Paul Heyman, Asuka, LA Knight, and The Undertaker, among others, and of course end up winning the night in viewership metrics. Carmelo Hayes wins the NXT main event over Bron Breakker, while Adam Copeland makes his in-ring AEW debut on the other channel, defeating Luchasaurus. Also on the AEW broadcast, Hikaru Shida becomes AEW Women's World Champion for the 3rd time after defeating Saraya. October 14th. News emerges that Vince McMahon no longer has any creative control in post-merger WWE after being removed by Ari Emanuel. In a recent Bloomberg conference, Emanuel actually names McMahon as one reason why TKO stock has dropped. Despite losing power, McMahon retains his title of executive chairman. On the same date, New Japan holds Royal Quest 3 before nearly 3,200 fans in London. In the main event, Will Ospreay retains his IWGP United States title over Zack Sabre Jr. in a 31-minute instant classic. October 18th. Sting announces on AEW Dynamite that he'll retire from the ring as of the 2024 Revolution pay-per-view. It's later announced that the event will take place at the same Greensboro Coliseum where Sting had his breakout match against Ric Flair in 1988. The same Dynamite Rampage taping in suburban Houston receives a substantial boost in run-up ticket sales due to the inclusion of lucha icon Mystico, formerly WWE's original Sin Cara. On the Rampage taping, Mystico defeats Rocky Romero in a 2 out of 3 falls match. October 21st. Impact Wrestling holds Bound for Glory before 1,000 fans at Chicago's Cicero Stadium. The big news coming out of the event is the show-closing announcement that Impact will revert to its prior TNA branding in 2024 at the year-opening Hard to Kill pay-per-view. On the card itself, Alex Shelley retains his Impact World title over Josh Alexander in the main event, while Trinity retains the Knockouts title against Mickie James. Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey steal the show with an 18-minute battle, while the Call Your Shot Gauntlet includes surprise entrances from Sonny Kiss, Juventud Guerrera, and Matt Cardona. For Impact's Hall of Fame, inductees include former valet Tracy Brooks and cherished commentary duo Mike Tenay and the late great Don West. October 25th. Ric Flair makes his AEW debut in Philadelphia, reuniting with Sting at the onset of Sting's retirement run. It's later revealed that Flair's AEW stay is being paid for through a partnership with Flair's Woo energy drink. October 26th. Ronda Rousey makes her first post-WWE appearance at a Lucha Vavoom card in Los Angeles, teaming with Marina Shafir to defeat Brian Kendrick and Taya Valkyrie. October 27th. Alright, Tom, what a lovely suit. October 28th. A controversial angle takes place at NWA's Samhain event in Cleveland, as longtime manager Father James Mitchell is seen snorting cocaine in a private seating area. Though apparently no actual illicit drugs are used, the angle reportedly upsets executives at the CW network with whom the NWA had reportedly set up a television deal. On the same date, Peacock finally releases Superfan, a long-shelved documentary on Vladimir Abazid, a fixture in WWF crowds, particularly in the Northeast, throughout the 80s and 90s. Abazid was oft-recognized by his prominent glasses, impressive build, and infectious energy. November 1st. MJF reaches 347 days as AEW World Champion, passing Kenny Omega to have the longest title reign in the company's brief history. MJF had retained the title over Omega on AEW Collision just 4 nights prior. November 4th. WWE Crown Jewel takes place at Mohammed Abdo Arena in Riyadh. In the main event, Roman Reigns retains his WWE Universal title over LA Knight, but elsewhere on the card, Logan Paul wins the United States title from Rey Mysterio, while Solo Sikoa defeats John Cena, ostensibly ending Cena's run before he returns to Hollywood post-actors strike. On the same date, New Japan holds Power Struggle in front of 4,000 fans in Osaka. Francesco Akira and TJP win the Super Juniors Tag League after defeating Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru in the finals. In the main event, US champion Will Ospreay retains his title over Shota Umino in a 40-minute battle. November 7th. WWE announces a 5-year deal to move NXT to the CW network beginning in 2024 after their USA network contract expires. I guess you can say NWA really blew it, didn't they? November 8th. After a 574-day reign, Samoa Joe vacates the Ring of Honor Television Championship on AEW Dynamite, stating a kayfabe desire to challenge for the AEW World title. November 9th. Vince McMahon sells 8,400,000 shares of his WWE stock for over $641 million, diminishing his ownership stock in TKO to 12%, down from around 16.4%. TKO stock drops 6.6% following the sale. November 12th. DDT holds Ultimate Party before nearly 4,800 fans at Sumo Hall. The event is notable for guest appearances from Chris Jericho, who defeats Konosuke Takeshita, Matt Cardona, who loses to DDT Universal Champion Mao, and reigning IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Hiromu Takahashi, who successfully defends his DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight title against Kazuki Hirata. Takahashi then loses the title to his own IWGP Junior Heavyweight title belt, which pins him as he's celebrating his victory. Wrestling. On the same date, Megan Bayne and Maika win the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League in Nagaoka, defeating Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki in the finals. November 17th. 2 lawsuits are filed, one on this date and the other on November 20th, regarding WWE's merger with UFC. The first suit, filed by the Laborers District Council and Contractors Pension Fund of Ohio, alleges unfair maneuverings on the part of Vince McMahon to reassume power and control, despite government investigations and mounting shareholder displeasure. The second suit is filed by a lone stockholder, though the specifics of the suit have not been made public at press time. On the same date, Ronda Rousey makes an unadvertised appearance at Ring of Honor's TV tapings in Inglewood. Rousey teams with Marina Shafir to defeat Athena and Billy Starks. November 18th. AEW Full Gear is held before nearly 13,000 fans at the Forum in Inglewood, California. In the main event, an injured MJF retains his world title over Jay White, a match that earns a polarizing response due to the super Hogan Cena-esque performance from the battered champ. Both women's titles change hands, as Timeless Toni Storm captures her third women's world title by defeating Hikaru Shida, while Julia Hart wins the TBS title in a three-way bout with Chris Statlander and Sky Blue. And Swerve Strickland defeats Hangman Page in a controversial Texas death match, which features several gruesomely bloody spots. At the event, AEW announces the official signing of Will Ospreay, who'll begin full-time in AEW after the expiration of his New Japan deal in early 2024. November 20th. Tam Nakano vacates her World of Stardom Championship, her 211-day reign ending due to a knee injury. On the same date, Being the Elite officially ends production after more than 7 years. The channel is turned over to AEW's Dark Order, continuing under the name Being the Dark Order. November 23rd. Absolute Andy, a fixture in Germany's West Side Extreme Wrestling for most of his two-decade career, passes away after an illness, aged 40. The charismatic brawler made his biggest impact in WXW, winning the promotion's unified world title twice, holding the tag team belts on 5 occasions, and winning the 2018 16-karat gold tournament. In his career, Andy wrestled a who's who that included Bryan Danielson, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Nigel McGuinness, and Ilya Dragunov, among many others. November 25th. WWE Survivor Series draws more than 17,000 fans to Chicago's All-State Arena, where 2 major returns occur over the final scene. The advertised comeback of Randy Orton, 18 months after his last prior match, and the surprise return of CM Punk, following his AEW firing at Night's End. Like the previous year, Survivor Series eschews the classic elimination match format in favor of War Games. Orton returns as part of the men's bout, joining Cody Rhodes' team in victory over a Drew McIntyre Judgment Day contingent. In the women's bout, Bianca Belair captains a 4-person squad to victory over Damage Control, and in the undercard, Gunther retains his Intercontinental title against The Miz. November 27th. CM Punk cuts a short promo in his first Monday Night Raw appearance in nearly 10 years. The promo earns a mixed response, with critics feeling that it wasn't as heartfelt or as lively as his debut promo in AEW 2 years prior. On the same date, Tammy Sitch is sentenced to 17.5 years in prison on DUI and manslaughter-related charges following a fatal March 2022 car crash in Florida that killed a 75-year-old man. Also on this date, QT Marshall announces he'll be leaving AEW at the end of the year. In addition to playing a lower card heel on screen, Marshall was AEW's vice president and manager of talent relations and was also involved on the creative end. Reports indicate that Marshall wanted to wrestle more, something that wasn't likely to happen in AEW. But either way, Marshall resigns with the company in February of 2024. December 2nd. Stardom holds Nagoya Big Winter in front of over 900 fans. The team of Aphrodite defeats Divine Kingdom for the Goddess of Stardom titles, while Julia retains the New Japan Strong Women's title over Azumi. December 4th. Kevin Sullivan, the producer, not the taskmaster, is let go from All Elite Wrestling after working with the company since its early days. The decision was made by AEW Senior Vice President Mike Mansouri and comes as a surprise to many, including Sullivan himself. At press time, the reason for suddenly letting Sullivan go isn't clear. December 6th. For the first time since May 17th, 2010, Adam Copeland faces Christian Cage in a one-on-one singles match, this time for Christian's AEW TNT title on the first ever AEW Dynamite broadcast from Montreal. Christian retains his title following interference from Shayna Wayne, the mother of Nick. On the same date, Hokuto Omori and Katsuhiko Nakajima win All Japan's annual Real World Tag League, defeating Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi in the finals at Tokyo's Korakuen Hall. December 8th. It's the end of an era. Dave Meltzer publishes the final mail-order subscription edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, cover dated December 11th. After 41 years of consecutive publication, the Observer will strictly be available in online form going forward, meaning that if an irritated Hulk Hogan wants to stick it to Dave, he'll have to set an iPad on fire. December 9th. NXT Deadline takes place at Total Mortgage Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and features a guest appearance from CM Punk, who shares the ring with Shawn Michaels for a segment. On the card, Blair Davenport and Trick Williams win the Iron Survivor Challenges, while Dragon Lee defeats Dominic Mysterio to win the NXT North American title. In the main event, Ilya Dragunov retains the NXT title over Baron Corbin. December 10th. Haruki Goto and Yoshihashi win New Japan's World Tag League after defeating El Phantasmo and Hikuleo in a 40-minute final before 2,700 fans in Mashiki. December 11th. More than 2 years after litigation was first filed, MLW and WWE come to terms on a settlement. MLW had brought the initial action, alleging that WWE engaged in antitrust practices. On the same date, Osamu Kido, a Day One New Japan performer who enjoyed a 4-decade career inside the ring, passes away from cancer at the age of 73. Kido worked for New Japan from its 1972 inception through to 2003, coming and going a few times during that stretch. He was also one half of the second ever IWGP Tag Team Champions, briefly holding the titles with Akira Maeda in 1986. Kido was also part of the foundation of Japan's UWF promotion in 1984 and won the group's 3-tour tournament the following year. Several notable stars are proteges of Kido, including Toru Yano, Haruki Goto, and Shinsuke Nakamura. December 12th. For the 4th time in his career, Tetsuya Naito wins Tokyo Sports MVP Award, having previously won the honor in 2016, 2017, and 2020. December 13th. After appearing in a promo segment on AEW Dynamite, Kenny Omega is hospitalized with diverticulitis, putting him out of action indefinitely. Omega last wrestled on the December 5th Collision tapings in Montreal, defeating Ethan Page. December 15th. Ring of Honor Final Battle is held before close to 2,000 fans in suburban Dallas. In the main event, Athena retains her Ring of Honor Women's World title over Billie Starkz, and elsewhere on the card, FTR and Mark Briscoe win a hellacious near half-hour battle with the Blackpool Combat Club, while Cal Fletcher captures the vacant Ring of Honor television title in a 6-way elimination match. Also in the undercard, Ethan Page defeats Tony Nese in an I Quit match. On the same date, AJ Styles returns to WWE on SmackDown following a 2-month absence. In his return, Styles confronts the Bloodline, but also attacks fellow babyface LA Knight. Also on the same date, 9 different Japanese organizations, including New Japan, Stardom, All Japan, and Noah, form United Japan Pro Wrestling, a cooperative designed to aid the collective growth of all promotions, who are still recovering from pandemic-related hits to popularity and attendance. Longtime New Japan star and executive Seiji Sakaguchi is the group's founding chairman. December 18th. Reigning AEW World Champion MJF is inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. In addition to his renown in wrestling, MJF is lauded by the Hall for his public commitment to fighting anti-Semitism through his work with several advocacy groups. December 22nd. 8-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion Hiroshi Tanahashi is named the new president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, following a meeting of the organization's directors and shareholders. Incumbent president Takami Obari steps down the following day. Stories soon emerged that Obari was unpopular backstage, both for letting top names leave the company over the preceding years and for reportedly not understanding the wrestling business at all. Also on the date, The Iron Claw, a biographical film on the Von Erich family, receives widespread release in the United States, to much critical acclaim. Starring Zac Efron as Kevin and Jeremy Allen White as Kerry, Iron Claw looks into the rise of the Von Erich wrestling dynasty and the string of tragedies that led to its fall. MJF, who briefly appears as kayfabe cousin Lance Von Erich, receives an executive producer credit, while Chavo Guerrero Jr. coordinated the wrestling scenes, in addition to playing Ed the Sheik Farhat. December 26th. CM Punk makes his in-ring return to WWE, defeating Dominic Mysterio in front of nearly 16,000 fans at a Madison Square Garden house show. December 29th. Masashi Ozawa, popularly known as Killer Khan during his 16-year wrestling career, passes away from a ruptured artery at the age of 76. Billed professionally from Mongolia, Ozawa was best known for his contentious 1981 feud with Andre the Giant, culminating in a famed stretcher match at the Philadelphia Spectrum. Ozawa also enjoyed prolific runs in New Japan, All Japan, Stampede, and various US territories, including off-and-on runs with the WWF into 1987. In retirement, Ozawa was the proprietor of numerous restaurants and bars throughout Tokyo. On the same date, it's reported that Curtis Chapman, sometimes known professionally as Mad Kurt, has passed away at the age of 26. A regular in Revolution Pro, Chapman worked for the organization from his 2014 professional debut through the end of 2022, holding the promotion's undisputed British Cruiserweight belt for 6 months in 2017 and 2018. In the latter part of his career, Chapman cultivated the humorous persona of Mad Kurt, a merciless internet troll that burrowed beneath the skin of numerous industrial figures. Notable opponents of Chapman include Will Ospreay, Eddie Kingston, Aussie Open, and Matt Cardona, while he actually teamed with Minoru Suzuki for a Rev Pro bout in 2022. December 30th. AEW holds their record 8th pay-per-view of the year, World's End, before over 10,000 fans at Long Island's Nassau Coliseum. In the main event, MJF's record 406-day reign as AEW World Champion ends at the hands of Samoa Joe, who chokes him out with the Coquina Clutch. Post-match, MJF is finally faced with the long-persistent Devil, a heel-turned Adam Cole flanked by vengeful disciples Wardlow, Roderick Strong, and The Kingdom. Elsewhere on the card, Adam Copeland defeats Christian Cage in a no-DQ match to win the TNT Championship, but loses the title back to Christian minutes later via the use of the TNT title shot contract that Luchasaurus, or Killswitch, earned earlier in the night. Meanwhile, Eddie Kingston wins the first ever AEW Continental Classic, defeating friend and rival Jon Moxley in the finals of the 12-man round robin. The victory gives Kingston the AEW Continental Championship, a variation of the All Japan Triple Crown. World's End also marks the AEW exit of Andrade El Idolo, who finishes up with the promotion after losing to Miro. And on the same date, it's reported that heavily influential producer and showrunner Kevin Dunn is leaving WWE after a 4-decade tenure with the promotion. Hired to the WWF in 1984, Dunn was made executive producer for All Television beginning in 1993 and had helped oversee many important aspects of company broadcasts through numerous promotional eras and changes. And that was 2023. Are there any more years you'd like us to cover? Let us know in the comments below.